Hello and welcome to Access Ann Arbor, The Young People Will Win. My name is Celeste Kanperwala, and today we are joined by the amazing Zaynab Elkolaly, who is a senior at Washtenaw Technical Middle College. And Zaynab just found out today that she has been nominated as a finalist for the Young Citizen of the Year Award. Zaynab, can you tell us a little bit about that and how it came about?
Oh, goodness. Well, I have a dear friend, Marquand Kane, who was a winner last year.
Yes, he's awesome.
And yeah, he's amazing. And he recommended that I go for it. And
so what does that entail?
It's basically having somebody nominate you. They fill a very basic form of who you are and what your accomplishments are. And the nomination committee takes it from there. And in all honesty, at first I thought, what a load of baloney. I don't do this for recognition or credit. But then it dawned on me the impact it would have on young Muslim girls to see themselves like winning public recognition and making an impact on the community. And so that's really why I'm here today at CTN. I want them to know that they're not alone and they can make a difference.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's about the bigger picture. Yeah. So you also are a city commissioner. You have a position in the Independent Community Police Oversight. How did that come about? And, well, let's talk about that first. How did that come about?
Well, my amazing friend Joey Ryan sent me the link to the application. They were like, they're looking for people to serve on it. At first I was like, wait, but I'm 17. It turns out they wanted a youth member. I filled it out, not expecting much to happen, but lo and behold, I get a call from Zachary Ackerman after a few weeks, and he's like, would you be willing to serve on the commission? I was speechless for like 2 minutes. That poor guy, he had to listen to, but
it's exciting.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And how long have you held the position?
Since March 18th officially.
Okay.
It's been my term.
And how long is the position for?
For the youth member, it is 1 year, but I can be appointed for another 2 years.
Okay. And you also have plans to run for city council at some point as well?
Or the county commission, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And do you know at what point you might do that? Any plans as of yet?
Probably into my first or second year of university.
Okay.
That's what I'm aiming for.
And because you're a senior, what university are you planning to go to?
U of M is the goal.
Okay. So you're still waiting to hear?
No, I'm actually going to stay an extra semester or two at my current institution because they're paying for me to take more classes.
Okay.
And I recently made a pledge that I wouldn't attend the University of Michigan until they committed to climate control and carbon neutrality. And the president is currently not following up with what his students are begging for. So I will not be attending until he listens.
Okay. And have you been accepted into other schools as well?
Yes.
Yeah? But University of Michigan is where you definitely want to go.
Absolutely.
Just waiting on the change to be made.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's really awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so what age did you know that you wanted to be a part of social justice?
Well, what age did I find out that my identity in itself was provocative? I was about 9 years old. And I sort of started to develop an understanding of how the world viewed Muslims and Islam. And I remember seeing footage of what was happening to young children in Palestine and Syria, being bombed at the hands of their own governments. And over here in this first world country, we couldn't imagine our own governing body harming us. But I came to realize that they are indirectly. And these people are working day and night to make sure that we are safe and we can pursue freedom and we can pursue happiness. Because right now, it's not like that for all people, only wealthy white men.
So, and can we talk about the difference that you have seen since the current administration has taken office?
Oh gosh. When Donald Trump was elected, I had random strangers come up to me and say, I am so sorry, you're one of us. And it was lovely.
But have you had the opposite happen as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
But unfortunately that was happening even before Trump. But what's happened is that our current commander-in-chief has created a breeding ground for racists to feel comfortable. So racism has never ended in America, it's just been dormant. And now it's active thanks to him.
Yeah, very apparent these days.
Yes.
Yeah, and I am sorry too that it's something that you have to deal with.
It's all right. It makes me stronger at the end of the day.
Yeah, power to the women.
Mm-hmm.
So, speaking of your Islamic faith, what misconceptions can you clear up for us?
Oh, how much time have we got? Well, I would like to address the first one that I'm most passionate about, which is that Islam does not grant women rights, and that we are oppressed, and that my hijab covers me and makes me feel ashamed of myself. This could not be more wrong. What most people don't know is that Islam in itself gave women the right to participate in politics and to own land and inherit wealth 1,400 years before the West even started to consider the idea. Islamic doctrines say that women are, in fact, more important than men, and that they need to be regarded basically as royalty because they are so special and they are so necessary. And there's really this difference between culture and religion. The culture in the Middle East at the time was extremely sexist, and when newborn baby girls would come about, they would try to bury them alive because they hated women that much. And so when Islam came to that region, it completely condemned all mistreatment against women. And so that culture might still be alive, but Islam is there to aid it.
That's really incredible. Thanks for teaching us something. So you are also a major activist. I know that you're part of many groups. And let's first talk about Washtenaw Youth Initiative, which is something that is near and dear to my heart, being a gun violence survivor myself. You have attended and spoken at rallies and town halls, and you have been so outspoken and so brave and courageous, and I applaud you. So I would love for you to tell us about that, why you got involved, and what it is that you're doing to help change this movement.
So why I got involved. A group of high schoolers in the Ann Arbor community congregated after the Parkland shooting, and we began to talk about forming a group to fight the policies that allow these tragedies to happen. And these people are so near and dear to my heart. They're all my family. What I have
When you say these people, you mean Washtenaw Youth Initiative?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Not the shooters, God. And
I was thinking more in terms of the Parkland students,
Oh.
the March for Our Life students as well. I wouldn't associate with the shooters.
Oh,
by any
goodness.
means. Yeah.
what I have realized that in the movement, there's a lot of whitewashing, and there's a lot of white savior complexes. And so,
Can you explain to us what that means?
March for Our Lives founders and activists are incredible, and the work that they do is so powerful. But the issue that I have is not with them, but the fact that there is a natural tendency for these movements to become whitewashed, simply because these students have the resources to make their voices heard. These students have natural white privilege, which makes people want to listen to them more. They are living in a wealthy suburban area when they were affected. It's all these circumstances that simply follow the systems of oppression that we've already had in place. And so when all of them are getting accepted into these extremely prestigious colleges, yes, I'm extremely happy for them, but I can't help but think about the black kids that have to look at death every day and can't even attend school and are fighting for their lives and receive no recognition, no resources. And these are the people that I fight for.
Yeah. Yes, a little known fact is that Black Americans are 13 times more likely than white Americans to be shot and killed in this country.
Yes.
So, yes. And not only that, but we have the LGBTQ community, we have the Muslim community, we have all of these communities who are disproportionately affected by gun violence. And so I applaud your work
Thank you
on
so
it.
much.
Yes, definitely. And do you have any upcoming events or anything that you want to talk about specifically in regard to that?
Well, for gun violence or in general?
Yeah, or in general, either one.
At
Both.
the moment, in light of the tragedies that happened in both New Zealand, San Diego, as well as Pittsburgh.
North Carolina.
Yeah, everywhere. I am closely working with Beth Israel and Beth Emeth congregations, which are basically Jewish houses of worship, to plan interfaith events for teenage girls so that we can bridge the divide that's been formed. Unfortunately, what's bonding us is that we're both being shot at, but it's something, and hopefully a lot of good will come out of it.
Yeah. Do you see the change that is happening? Because my problem being involved in the movement myself is that I hear a lot of people who say that this has been going on for so long and nothing is being done. But I see that some things are being done. It's just being done very slowly.
Yes.
Do you see that as well?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. If you look at what happened in New Zealand, the Prime Minister banned assault-type rifles in 9 days. We could only dream of that in this country. And it really is about money in politics, lobbyists, people that don't want to give up their power to promote the safety of people. And when they do, it is to the benefit of wealthy white Americans. They're not helping these Black impoverished communities with their laws and with their financial donations. And that's really the issue here.
Yeah.
The wrong people are being focused on.
Right. And I'm of the opinion that change isn't going to happen, major change isn't going to happen until we elect new officials.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is an unfortunate truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the work that we're doing is so important.
Absolutely. And there's even a difficulty in electing those new officials. Because if you look at our current candidates, they all have some problematic flaw or another. It's at this point lesser of the evils.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
And a lot of gerrymandering going on as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you're doing to amplify voices of color that you can talk about?
Well, last year I created the Human Rights Youth Coalition. I'm currently the president of it.
Okay, tell us about that.
It's basically an organization that's focused on giving privileged youth a global perspective on human rights. Because when people rely on the media, they are given a very narrow view of what is actually happening in the world. And everything is from a US-centric perspective. And so I appoint people of color to host teach-ins to these willing youth to basically broaden their global perspective. And so far, it's been really effective.
Great. Great. And you said you've been doing that for how long now?
This one is specifically a year, about.
For a year.
Yeah, a little over that.
Okay. Awesome. And how many other people are involved in that coalition?
Right now, we are at about 17 consistent people.
Okay.
Right now, we're working on nonprofit status, and so our official board consists of 5 at the moment.
And do you meet once a week, once a month?
Once a week, more or less, depending on the situations in the world. Right now, we've been swamped with finals.
Okay,
But
sure.
right after, we're going to pick right up and conquer.
Awesome. And how often does Washtenaw Youth Initiative meet?
Once a week, usually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you keep a pretty busy schedule, huh? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's worth it.
Yeah. That's awesome. So what other organizations are you involved in that meet on a weekly basis?
Oh boy.
Do you have any free evenings?
No. But I am currently in my school's Muslim Student Association. Our goal is to really teach the campus about Islam while bettering our own faith. And recently we finished for the semester, since finals are here and taking everybody's time. But they're a great group, and recently we had an Ask a Muslim table with donuts, of course, because free food.
Yeah.
And
because everybody likes free food.
people came up to us and we just invited them to ask every single crazy question that they have about Islam, and we answered it for them.
Yeah. What's the craziest question you've ever been asked?
Oh, Lord. Oh, are you familiar with the Egyptian god Isis?
No.
Okay, well, she's a figure in Egyptian mythology.
Okay.
And I've had a man come up to me and ask, is Isis called Isis because of the Muslim god Isis from Egypt? And it's certainly something that's stuck in my head. I've also been asked, is Muslim Islam? And a Muslim is somebody who practices Islam. So it's just semantics at that point, but
Sure.
it can be pretty entertaining.
Sure. My in-laws are Muslim too, as you know, so I can relate to that. It was something that I had to learn when I married my husband. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I honestly don't mind if people ask questions.
Yeah.
The more knowledge going around, the better.
Exactly. You can't learn until you ask questions. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I understand that you are also involved with STEM. Can you first describe what it is? And secondly, how are you helping to increase women involved in STEM?
Well, STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics. Okay. And the most recent statistic that I read is that in the United States, about 26% of STEM fields are consisting of women. That means that a great majority of men hold positions in this field. And I believe that it is a product of raising girls to not understand that they are capable of being in STEM. Mm-hmm. It's the creation of a sexist culture within STEM fields that deters women. Mm-hmm. And so I really began to recognize this as I entered robotics, and I recently was serving as director of engineering on my team, and kind of hit me in the face just how much sexism there is in these fields. Mm. And so I created a group called STEMinists. And so
nice little plan.
Yeah.
I like it.
Where STEM meets social justice.
Yeah.
And
great. And do you meet once a week too?
Oh no, that's just once a month.
Okay.
So basically we teach girls programming, looking for internships. We do fun little science experiments. We also intersected, of course, with social justice. We teach them what to expect in these fields while we are currently working to change the attitude towards women. Okay. And slowly we've been seeing an increase. And it warms my heart because I love science so much. And mm-hmm. to see young girls not being told that they can't do it, mm-hmm. it relieves me, because when mm-hmm. I was young, I didn't have anybody to look up to. I didn't have a woman to look up to in STEM, let alone a Muslim woman. And now there are so many.
So now you're the mentor.
I guess,
and yeah. That's awesome. Yes, take credit for it. You absolutely are. And I'm sure so many girls are looking up to you. How many, what's the age range of the girls who are involved in it?
Well, we have 2 different age ranges. We have 7 to 12 and then 13 to 18. And most of these workshops are held at any willing local middle schools. Mm-hmm. And we use the computer labs if it's a programming thing. We've used the science labs for when we're working with chemicals.
Yeah.
And honestly, we work with about 30 girls per session, but even if it was just 3, I would be happy. At least those specific girls are being impacted.
Yeah. And so now when you say we, does that mean that you are teaching or moderating the session with some other young women as well?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I actually plan to launch partnerships with people this month. Yeah, it's May. Gosh. And
it's May.
So I am actually going to make that form available. Well, if I'm on TV, I'd like to say that. Keep a lookout for it on the HREC website.
Yes, go ahead, tell them. Yes.
Form will be available on the Human Rights Youth Coalition Instagram starting next week.
And then also, you mentioned nuclear fusion. So tell us, explain to us what nuclear fusion is and how does it pertain to the environment?
So, have you heard of nuclear fission?
Yes, but I myself am more artsy brain, mm-hmm. not so much math science.
Totally valid.
So talk to me, tell me about it.
So our current nuclear power systems rely on fission technology, which basically imagine a bowling ball of subatomic particles. And then there's one that comes rolling in, and it kind of creates this big boom. Mm-hmm. And that boom is obviously controlled and converted into power. But the thing is, there's a lot of nuclear waste. Those disasters in Ukraine and Japan happen for a reason. The nuclear fission is not stable. It mm-hmm. isn't environmentally sustainable, but nuclear fusion is. And nuclear fusion is, as it sounds, 2 nuclei fusing together. And this produces an insane amount of energy.
Okay.
And scientists are working very hard to harness that energy, because if we can do it successfully, we can power the Earth for 1 million years without any waste.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can imagine that funding for this is pretty low, because mm-hmm. Petroleum companies will lose their profits. Even renewable energy companies will lose their profits. It might be great for humanity, but not so good for some people's businesses.
Sure. Sure, and I'm sure that the current administration doesn't necessarily help the advancement of nuclear fusion as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what got you interested in it, and how did you hear about it?
I was in 9th grade, and
Okay.
I watched a documentary in critical reading, and they were talking about nuclear fusion, and they called it a silver bullet, and I was just sitting there like, so
Yeah, you were intrigued.
very much.
Okay.
And so, you know, as any normal person does, I went on Amazon and ordered about 20 books. Did not go bankrupt that day. And just did all the reading that I possibly could on it. And got
Yeah.
peer-reviewed articles.
Yeah.
And talked to Harvard nuclear scientists. And they finally responded to my emails. And
You had Harvard nuclear scientists that you're emailing?
I was... okay, look, I was kind of a fan, and it took
Yeah.
them like 3 months to email back after I called the assistant, and I was like,
Yeah.
just to tell you, I emailed this guy. So they're
You have to
definitely...
be persistent.
they're definitely not yet willing to listen to peasants like us, but we'll make them.
Yeah.
Because this knowledge belongs to the people, not just to uppity scientific communities. And,
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's why I
Well,
really work to promote it.
And you're letting us know about it right now. So
Thank
that's
you.
awesome. And like I said, persistence is key. So you keep on those Harvard scientists, and before
Thank
we know it,
you.
everybody will know about it. And we'll make some progress.
I hope so.
Yeah. So what are your plans to continue your activism? You have a saying that says activism is not a hobby, which I love. As you graduate, well, I know you said that you're going to do, did you say 1 or 2 more years at your current institution? 1 more year. Okay, so what are your plans to continue your activism in the next year and then as well after you graduate? If you could touch on that for us.
Well, I'm 18 now. I just turned 18 last week. And
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now you can vote.
Oh, yeah. And so a world of opportunities has been opened for me, because now I can travel with a lot less restrictions. And so my current plan is to become closely involved with the United Nations Youth Delegation. They're having their assembly in August, and I'm hoping to be chosen to speak there and address important people at the United Nations. I just really want to get the word out about people of color in activism, because as I said, it's not a hobby, and at the moment in this country, it's being regarded as a hobby. It's a tool to get into college. It's something to let your friends know that you're not a racist. People do not have the right intentions. And normally, this is not in every case, but normally if there is a well-liked activist or a well-known activist, their work is probably not as concentrated as somebody who is literally doing activism to survive. And they're probably not getting as much recognition. Because we do activism in comfort. We can go to rallies and protests and then know without reasonable doubt that we can go home safely. And
I mean, it's always a 50-50 shot in this country.
oh gosh, yeah. Recently it's not like that. In fact, I was just involved in a shooting scare at U of M. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Yes, tell us about that. Where were you? What happened?
I was at a vigil for the victims of New Zealand.
Yes.
And I think we were all just a little on edge, and it was in the back of our minds, what if somebody tries to come and hurt us? And the police moved into the crowd, and they were yelling, "Move, move!" And so,
Terrifying.
yeah, people were stampeding, and I was kind of looking around like, what? What's happening? And so we ran inside, and at first there was no confirmation. There were just suspects that might have been seen with a holster. And then we got the message inside the building saying, "Run, hide, fight." And this whole time I'm like, wait, if there's no confirmed active shooter, why are they releasing this statement? I personally was terrified.
Yeah.
And so was everybody else.
Yeah.
And so we found out that the noises that the police suspected were gunshots were actually people popping balloons. And the way that the media phrased it didn't mention the effect that the police had on the crowd. They made it look like we heard balloons popping, therefore we ran inside like crazy people. And I was just really unimpressed with that narrative because that's not what happened. And our fear was legitimate.
Yeah, it's scary.
Absolutely. And I'm glad everybody's okay. But for those 20 minutes, we knew how others felt.
Yeah. So it was only 20 minutes then?
It was 20 minutes that we had that run, hide, fight alert. We were in there for about 2 hours.
I say only 20 minutes, but I'm sure it felt like forever.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then people were calling around, and then they were saying, wait, no, there's nothing wrong. Wait, stay inside. And it was definitely a communication error on the part of U of M, but they're working on it. They did their best.
Yeah.
I'm just glad everyone's okay, as I said.
Yeah, but I can imagine that the post-traumatic stress disorder that people who experience that incident, I can just imagine what they're going through. Because I have a friend who was also stuck in the U of M Art Institute for 3 hours, I think, 2 or 3 hours during the incident as well. Yeah, and I have another friend actually within Moms Demand Action who's not her kid, but her kid's friends were stuck at the arcade in Pinball Pete's and thinking that there was a shooting taking place. So yeah, this is definitely something that needs to be talked about because 20 years ago, let's face it, 20 years ago, if we heard balloons popping, we wouldn't have thought anything of it.
Absolutely.
But now we hear balloons popping and we think it's gunshots.
Yes.
So what's changed? We have more and more gun violence.
Yeah.
So your work is very critical.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Definitely. Yeah, so Zaynab, I think I have gone through all of our main notes here. So I want you to talk a little bit more about anything that you feel really passionate about, anything that excites you. I can see obviously math and science excite you. So tell us.
Wow. Honestly, when I go to university, you asked about what I'm going to be doing in activism work in the future. And I've always kind of seen this binary between student activist organizations and legitimate, fearful situations that like rely on activism, if that makes sense. And so I do have plans to apply for the Rhodes Scholarship. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I am.
And I'd like to study medicine at Oxford and hopefully work with Doctors Without Borders in the future. But I'm currently just contemplating public recognition. Is it good? Is it bad? Are my views and morals going to be skewed by it? I was even hesitant to come here because I didn't,
But you did, and the important thing is that people see you, they see who you are and what you represent, that you are this beautiful, aspiring woman who is making a difference in the world. You just turned 18.
Yes.
And I have goosebumps right now because you are already making such a positive difference. And I'm so honored to be here with you today and to talk to you about everything that you are doing.
I appreciate it.
So the important thing is that people see you. And for instance, when I speak, when I tell my gun violence survivor story, that my dad took his life with a shotgun 5 years ago, I tell it not so much for myself, but for others, so that I can help others. So I just want to thank you so much.
Thank you
for the time today, and know that you are inspiring people.
Thank you so much, as are you.
Thank you.